For 100 years, they studied us. They cataloged our biology, analyzed our history, and debated our psychology. The Galactic Council, a gathering of ancient and powerful species, saw humanity as a paradox. A species capable of profound kindness and terrifying aggression. And in the great crystal chamber where the fate of stars is decided, they came to a conclusion. Humanity's greatest flaw was their politeness. A fragile mask hiding an unpredictable fury. They believed it was a weakness, a sign of immaturity. They were about to learn it was a cage. And they had just handed us the key. What happens when a human diplomat, pushed too far, decides to stop being polite? How does a single, honest conversation become more devastating to a galactic empire than a fleet of warships? And what is the terrifying truth behind why humans learn to hide their anger, and why the galaxy should pray they never stop? The day the Council witnessed humanity's polite mode turn off in real time. Before we begin our story, know that your subscription is what powers our journey. Take a moment to support the channel and like this video. Your signal lets us know we are not alone in the dark. Alright, let's begin the story. Then, Senior Delegate Kalen of the Xylar Confederation shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The gravitic field hummed, perfectly calibrated to his species' needs, but it did nothing to ease the growing disquiet in his 3 hearts. He was watching the human representative with a mixture of fascination and a primal unease he hadn't felt in centuries. The council chambers, normally filled with the quiet murmurs of 17 different species discussing interstellar politics, had fallen eerily silent. All 42 eyes in the room, belonging to various delegates with anywhere from 2 to 8 visual organs each, were fixed on Ambassador Anya Sharma of Earth. "So, you are telling me," Sharma said, her voice a model of diplomatic calm, "that after 8 months of negotiations, after we provided your council with unrestricted access to our quantum communication technology, after human marines bled and died to help you defend your Proxima colonies from the Void Swarm." She paused, a small, polite smile on her face. A smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You have decided that humanity isn't mature enough for full membership?" Kalen cleared all 3 of his throats. The temperature regulators in his encounter suit seemed to be malfunctioning. Sweat was forming along his blue-scaled neck. Something about Sharma's tone, the precise and dangerous quiet of it, made his ancestral warning instincts fire like a proximity alert. "Ambassador Sharma," he began cautiously, his voice a low rumble. "The Council appreciates Earth's contributions. Truly, we do. But certain behavioral patterns observed among your people have raised concerns." High Arbiter Forlag, an imposing Signin with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water, leaned forward from his elevated dais. "Perhaps if you could help us understand, Ambassador, why does your species seem to vacillate between extreme politeness and alarming aggression? Our cultural observers report that humans can switch between these states with disturbing rapidity." Sharma nodded pleasantly, straightening the crisp lines of her simple, dark blue diplomatic uniform. "I see. And which specific observations led to this conclusion, High Arbiter?" Delegate a gelatinous being from the methane oceans of Callisto Prime, wobbled forward, its form contained within a shimmering energy field. 3 solar cycles ago, translated voice bubbled. A human trade representative named Marcus Weber was negotiating with Gorus merchants. When they attempted to raise prices mid-agreement, he smiled, excused himself, went into an adjacent chamber, and punched a bulkhead with such force he fractured several phalanges in his own hand. He then returned, still smiling, and continued negotiations as if nothing had happened. "That's just Marcus," Sharma said with a light, dismissive laugh. "He has some anger management issues. We all find it quite embarrassing, honestly. But it is not just Marcus Weber," interjected Delegate Stis of the Kthar Hive, her antennae twitching nervously. "Our psychological profiles of your species indicate that you all possess this capability for contained rage. You bottle emotions in a way no other sentient species does. It's unsettling." Sharma's smile remained perfectly in place, a placid mask. But Kalen, the veteran diplomat, noticed her right hand tightened almost imperceptibly around her datapad. His 3rd heart began beating faster. In his 700 years of service, he'd learned to spot danger signs across dozens of species. And something was happening here. Something dangerous. High Arbiter Forlag continued, oblivious to the warning signals Kalen was picking up. We have reviewed footage from your own entertainment archives, Ambassador. Your species seems to glorify this transition from civility to violence. You have words for it. Snapping. Losing it. Going off. We find it deeply concerning that your diplomatic corps might be operating under a similar restraint. A restraint that could fail. Sharma tilted her head slightly, a gesture of polite curiosity. So, you are denying our membership application because humans get angry sometimes? Not precisely, Forlag said, spreading his upper arms in a gesture of magnanimity. We are denying it because you hide your anger behind politeness until it explodes. The Council requires transparent emotional communication from all member species. It is the bedrock of trust. I see, Sharma said, nodding thoughtfully. And this decision is final? The Council has voted, Forlag confirmed. 37 in favor of a probationary delay, 5 against. We recommend humanity spend another 50 standard years developing emotional regulation before reapplying. Sharma placed her datapad on the lectern with exquisite, deliberate care. The small click echoed in the silent chamber. 50 years, she repeated. A mere blink in cosmic terms, Forlag said grandly. Your species is young. Use this time wisely. Kalen watched in growing alarm as Sharma's breathing pattern subtly changed. It deepened, slowed. Her pupils dilated by a fraction of a millimeter. These were the tiny, almost invisible indicators his species had evolved to detect in predators right before an attack. He tried to catch Forlag's eye, to signal caution, but the High Arbiter was already turning to the next agenda item. If we could now move on to the matter of resource allocation in the Orion sector. No. Sharma's voice wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive, but it cut through the chamber like a plasma blade. Forlag blinked all 6 of his eyes in surprise. I beg your pardon. I said, no. Sharma repeated, standing up straight, smoothing down her uniform. We are not moving on. We are going to revisit this decision. Right now. A faint murmur rippled through the chamber. No one interrupted council proceedings. It simply wasn't done. Ambassador Sharma, Forlag said sternly, his shimmering skin darkening. Perhaps this very reaction demonstrates precisely the emotional volatility we are concerned about. Sharma smiled. And this time, the expression sent a chill of pure, primal dread through Kalen's encounter suit. Oh, High Arbiter. I am being extremely polite right now. Trust me. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. What you are seeing is still very much humanity's diplomatic face. Then we appreciate your restraint, Forlag said dismissively. But the matter is closed. For now. Sharma's smile didn't falter. Let me explain something about humans that your cultural observers seem to have missed. We don't hide our anger because we are deceptive. We hide it because we are trying to be kind to you. The chamber fell silent again. Even the ambient hum of the environmental systems seemed to quiet down. But you see, Sharma continued, picking up her datapad and casually scrolling through a file. Humans learned a long time ago that our full, unfiltered emotional range tends to overwhelm other species. So we developed what we internally call polite mode. It's our way of making the rest of you comfortable. It's a gift. Kalen felt an alarm bell ringing in the deepest part of his mind. High Arbiter, perhaps we should call a brief recess. No recess, Sharma said pleasantly. I think it's time the Council saw what happens when humanity's polite mode gets switched off. Especially since you have just made a decision that affects the future of 11 billion humans, without bothering to understand us first. She tapped her datapad. On the massive view screen behind her, images began to appear. Historical footage, human conflicts, world wars, sports competitions, heated political debates, OTS, celebrations. This is humanity when we stop being polite, she said. We built civilizations on this. We waged wars that would make your blood run cold. We split the atom. We reached the stars. All while carrying emotions inside us that would shatter the fragile minds of most of your species. Kalen noticed her hands were perfectly steady now. The slight tremor of contained anger he had seen earlier was gone, replaced by something far more frightening. Focused intensity. Ambassador, Forlag said, raising his upper arms in a placating gesture. This display is unnecessary. Oh, I think it's very necessary, Sharma replied, her voice dropping a register. Because in about 5 minutes, I'm going to stop being polite myself. And then, High Arbiter, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation about humanity's place in this council. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. Kalen looked at his fellow delegates, trying to gauge if anyone else understood the gravity of what was happening. They were about to witness something unprecedented. A human diplomat, by choice, deliberately disengaging their emotional safeguards. And despite his fear, Kalen couldn't help but feel a flicker of terrible curiosity. What exactly would happen when Ambassador Sharma's polite mode finally turned off? The council chamber's environmental systems struggled to keep up with the rising tension. Several delegates had activated personal comfort fields, shimmering bubbles of altered atmosphere that helped manage their anxiety. Kalen wished he could retreat into one himself, but as a senior delegate, appearances had to be maintained. Ambassador Sharma, High Arbiter Forlag said, his voice pitched to Project Calm Authority. Your emotional display is being noted in the official record. This is not helping your case. Sharma laughed. It was not the polite, diplomatic chuckle they'd heard from her over the past months. It was something raw and genuine that made several delegates flinch. That's the problem with you, Forlag. You think this is an emotional display. She pointed at her own face. This is just me talking without the filter. The actual emotional display hasn't even started yet. Delegate Stis' antennae were now pressed completely flat against her head, a sign of extreme distress. Ambassador, please think of the diplomatic repercussions. Oh, I am, Sharma replied, casually leaning against the speaking podium. I'm thinking about them very clearly. You want to know something fascinating about humans? When we're being polite, our thinking actually gets fuzzy. We hold back. We second-guess ourselves. We try to anticipate your feelings. She snapped her fingers. The sound cracked through the chamber like a whip. But when the politeness comes off, crystal clear thought. It's evolutionary. Fight or flight. And right now, I am thinking more clearly than I have in 8 months. Kalen watched as her entire demeanor transformed. The careful, contained posture of a diplomat was melting away, replaced by something more primal, more confident. Her gestures became larger, more emphatic. Her voice grew more dynamic. It was as if a completely different person was emerging. Let's look at what just happened here, Sharma continued, beginning to pace. Kalen noticed several of the chamber guards tense, their hands moving subtly toward their sidearms. Sharma noticed too and shot them a smile. Not her diplomatic smile. Something predatory. Don't worry, boys. I'm not going to attack anyone. That's not how this works. How what works exactly? Forlag demanded, all pretense of calm now abandoned. The politeness switch, Sharma explained, as if talking to a child. See, when humans turn off polite mode, physical violence is actually way down on the list of possible responses. What comes first is brutal, unfiltered honesty. She stopped pacing and stepped closer to Forlag's elevated dais, ignoring the warning chimes as she crossed into the restricted security boundary. So let me be brutally honest with you, High Arbiter. Your decision is garbage. It's not based on genuine concern for emotional transparency. It's based on fear. You are terrified of us because we contain multitudes you can't comprehend. You look at our capacity for rage, and you can't see that it's the same engine that powers our capacity for love, for loyalty, for self-sacrifice. That is quite enough. Forlag's voice boomed throughout. The chamber's amplifiers. I'm just getting started. Sharma shot back, her voice easily matching his without any amplification at all. Let's talk about the real reason for this decision. Resource competition. Power dynamics. Earth now controls 70% of the galaxy's quantum communication network, a network we designed and built. We have the best terraforming technology by a factor of 10, and our military, while small, has proven remarkably effective against threats your combined forces struggled with for decades. The chamber had gone so quiet that Kalen could hear the slight, involuntary buzzing of Delegate Stis' wings. Sharma was naming the unnameable, the raw political calculations behind every diplomatic decision that were supposed to remain unspoken. This isn't about our emotions, Sharma continued, her voice now a deadly, focused calm. It's about power. You are using our supposed emotional instability as a convenient excuse to keep humanity sidelined while you scramble to replicate our technology and mitigate our influence. Forlag's shimmering skin was changing colors rapidly, flashing from iridescent blue to angry purple. These accusations are outrageous. Are they? Sharma pulled up data on her pad, projecting it onto the main screen for all to see. Here's an interesting correlation. Every time humanity has shared a major technological breakthrough with the Council, within one cycle, a new cultural concern about our readiness for membership has been raised. The screen displayed a graph. 6 distinct spikes. 6 breakthroughs. 6 concerns. What an amazing coincidence, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Kalen felt a growing sense of dread. Sharma was dismantling decades of careful, polite political maneuvering in minutes. Worse, she was doing it with facts. Uncomfortable, undeniable facts that the Council had deliberately avoided examining directly. Ambassador Sharma, Kalen interjected cautiously. Perhaps we could discuss these concerns in a smaller, more private committee. No more committees, Kalen, Sharma said, and her tone wasn't unkind, but it was absolute. No more private meetings where nothing gets resolved. This happens right here, right now, in front of every delegate. She turned back to address the entire assembly. You know what's really ironic about this? We developed polite mode because we thought it would help us integrate better with galactic society. We studied all your cultures. We learned your communication styles. We modified our own behavior to make you comfortable. And you are using that very consideration against us. You're punishing us for being considerate. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Kalen could see Sharma's words landing with pinpoint, uncomfortable precision. Let me tell you what happens next, she continued, her voice now deadly calm. I am going to leave this chamber. I am going to contact my government on Earth. I am going to recommend that we immediately suspend the sharing of all quantum communication technology. I am going to suggest we begin a full review of our military support agreements for the Proxima colonies. And then, I am going to propose that humanity begins seeking bilateral, one-on-one agreements with individual species who are interested in progress, rather than working through this stagnant, fearful, and obsolete council. The chamber erupted. Delegates leapt to their feet, shouting questions and objections. Forlag was frantically trying to restore order, all 6 of his eyes wide with alarm. Sharma stood perfectly still in the center of the chaos she had created, watching with an almost curious expression. Kalen realized with a jolt that she wasn't angry anymore. She was calculating. The emotional display had been strategic. A controlled burn, not a wildfire. As the noise reached a crescendo, Sharma simply raised her hand. Remarkably, the chamber fell silent. That, she said quietly, was just a preview of what happens when one human turns off polite mode. Imagine what would happen if all of humanity decided to stop being polite at once. She let that thought hang in the air for a chilling moment. Humanity doesn't need to wait 50 years to develop emotional regulation. High Arbiter. We mastered that skill millennia ago, just to keep from killing each other. What you are seeing isn't a lack of control. It's me choosing to show you exactly how controlled I can be. K. Len watched in fascination as Sharma smoothly transitioned back into her diplomatic persona. Her posture straightened. Her expression softened. Her voice returned to its measured, pleasant tone. It was like watching someone put on a mask, except now, everyone in the room could see it for what it was. A courtesy, not a necessity. I will give the Council one standard day to reconsider its position, she said pleasantly. During that time, I suggest you review the actual data on human diplomatic interactions, rather than relying on sensationalized and frankly incompetent cultural reports. With that, she gathered her materials and walked calmly toward the exit. Just before the doors sealed behind her, she turned back. Oh, and High Arbiter. Forlag, who looked like he had aged a century in the last 10 minutes, could only stare. The next human diplomat you meet might not be as patient as I am. We are not all alike. She smiled that diplomatic smile again, but now every delegate in the room could see the predator behind it. Some of us are much, much worse at staying polite. The doors sealed, leaving the Council in stunned, absolute silence. Kalen looked around at his fellow delegates, seeing the same dawning realization on each alien face. They had gravely, catastrophically, misunderstood humanity, and they now had less than one day to figure out how to fix their mistake. A courtesy, not a necessity. I will give the Council one standard day to reconsider its position, she said pleasantly. During that time, I suggest you review the actual data on human diplomatic interactions, rather than relying on sensationalized and frankly incompetent cultural reports. With that, she gathered her materials and walked calmly toward the exit. Just before the doors sealed behind her, she turned back. Oh, and hi, Arbiter. Forlag, who looked like he had aged a century in the last 10 minutes, could only stare. The next human diplomat you meet might not be as patient as I am. We are not all alike. She smiled that diplomatic smile again, but now every delegate in the room could see the predator behind it. Some of us are much, much worse at staying polite. The doors sealed, leaving the Council in stunned, absolute silence. Kalen looked around at his fellow delegates, seeing the same dawning realization on each alien face. They had gravely, catastrophically, misunderstood humanity, and they now had less than one day to figure out how to fix their mistake. A courtesy, not a necessity. I will give the Council one standard day to reconsider its position, she said pleasantly. During that time, I suggest you review the actual data on human diplomatic interactions, rather than relying on sensationalized and frankly incompetent cultural reports. With that, she gathered her materials and walked calmly toward the exit. Just before the doors sealed behind her, she turned back. Oh, and hi, Arbiter. Forlag, who looked like he had aged a century in the last 10 minutes, could only stare. The next human diplomat you meet might not be as patient as I am. We are not all alike. She smiled that diplomatic smile again, but now every delegate in the room could see the predator behind it. Some of us are much, much worse at staying polite. The doors sealed, leaving the Council in stunned, absolute silence. Kalen looked around at his fellow delegates, seeing the same dawning realization on each alien face. They had gravely, catastrophically, misunderstood humanity, and they now had less than one day to figure out how to fix their mistake.